Hey friends, happy Monday. It's Ashley here from the Teacher's Treasure Chest, and I am so excited you are joining us today. So, with all the things that have changed in our world in 2020, the best way to describe it is just, you have to roll with the punches. You've heard me say that before with teaching. Teaching is like a roller coaster, everything is always so challenging, right? And for me, what gives me so much joy and passion is to help you and your students the best way I can. And the one thing that I am pretty good at is teaching children who struggle. I've made it my life's work. With teaching, I always looked for the ones that everyone said you couldn't help them. That's the kid I wanted to work with. The ones that they said, sit on the computer, put them on the computer, they won't learn. Those are the kids I wanted to work with. So that's how I became so invested in intervention. As someone who's taught all over this country and taught with hundreds and hundreds of students, I truly love helping the ones that they say we can't help. But what is the secret formula to that? How do you take a child who you get in the fourth grade who doesn't know the letters in their name? And before you say, Ashley, that doesn't happen, it did happen to me. Back in 2017, I had a student in my class that didn't know the letters in their name, and I taught the fourth grade. I was told the student would never learn to read. I was told the student couldn't learn to read. And that in itself broke my heart because educators had given up on this child. Now, what did it do for me? It lit something inside of me that said, you know what? This child will learn to read. This child will know the letters in his name. And I became so dedicated to taking everything I'd ever used with any other student, putting it together, and making it work for this child. And I know you can do the same thing. You're going to have kids in your class that are 1, 2, 3 grade levels behind. That's our unfortunate reality. With COVID, it's getting the scale is getting even broader. Students are getting further and further behind because of how different teaching is. So, what do? How do you help those kids? You can still help them. Everyone has the potential to learn to read. It takes a special person just like you to help them, though. I can't show up in your classroom and help them, but I can motivate you to give them the tools that they need to help them be successful. Now, what I wanted to talk to you about today is that you're either on Christmas break or Christmas break is like hours away. And what I challenge you to do is to take care of yourself this Christmas break. You've worked hard this year. This year has given us challenges like no other year before. We've had to learn and grow in ways that we never even knew possible. If you would have told me at this point last year that we would be doing lessons by Zoom and Google Classroom for 100% of our instruction, I would have been like, okay, is this an episode of the Jetsons, No, we didn't think that this is where we'd be, but this is where we are. So I want you to take care of yourself. You've worked hard. You deserve the break. While you're taking care of yourself, I want you to start to think about what you will change in January. We have still half a school year left. Students can still be helped. And my biggest thing is that I want you to be able to have the tools that you need to help them. Now, if you're not a member of our Facebook group, this is a great place for you to come and get resources. I have tons of free files in this group for you. So I'm going to leave a link in the comments for you to go check out our Facebook group. If you somehow can't find it, it's the Teacher's Treasure Chest, all things teaching. So it's for any teacher. And the reason that I have this open to all grade levels is because number one, I don't know about you, but I change grade levels all the time. Number two, I don't always know how to help a student on a 6th grade level. What does that look like? So I want you to have the resources that you need to help them. Now, in the Facebook group, there's tons of free files you can get to download and help your kids. The other resource that we have is our email list. And in our email list, we send out weekly files for you, tips, resources, and there's always something free for you. I don't want to just sell you things. I want you to get things for free because you know what? I spent hundreds of dollars as a teacher all the time, thousands of dollars even. And, I'm not like every other person who sells my teaching resources. I don't just want to sell to you. I want you to get things for free that can help you. So that's the purpose of this chat today. I'm going to leave you a link. What you'll do is you'll click the link and you'll get a folder, a Google Drive folder with tons of free resources in it to help you and your students. Now, when you go back in January, I want you to remember that I'm here for you. I want to help you with your students who struggle. So, I thought I had to sneeze, but apparently I don't. How does that look like? What I'm encouraging teachers to do and what I'm doing is that I'm meeting with my students one-on-one via Zoom, and I'm using Google Forms to assess them at first because you guys know I'm big about assessment. I'm big about assessment in a way where we're using useful assessment. What I'm doing is taking my reading assessments that I have in my TPT store and I'm converting them into Google Forms. So those should be done probably before Christmas break is over, hopefully. And what I want you to do is use those forms to see where they're at. What skill do they have a gap in? And before you say comprehension, I want you to stop and think because the biggest thing teachers and parents tell me that their kids struggle with is comprehension. A lot of times, children don't really struggle with comprehension. There is a gap before the comprehension skill. So what I'm saying is that if they're reading the words on the page, if students are reading the cat sat on the tack, oh, the cat sat on the tack, and they have no idea what they read, my first piece of advice for you is going to be go back and teach self-monitoring. Do you know in the county I live in that teaching self-monitoring is something that 4 or 5 years ago we weren't doing? I hope and pray they are now. But this is a big skill. If you start teaching your kindergarten and first grade students to think while they're reading, it's very, very easy to do. You model it for them. You tell them when they make mistakes instead of fixing the mistake, instead of saying, no, Johnny. And this goes for parents. When students are reading to you, don't just say, no, that's the word dog. No, say to your student, what does that say? What is the beginning sound of that word? Can you sound that word out? Does that make sense? Because if you just fix the mistake for them, they're not learning how to self-monitor. They're not learning how to think while they're reading. And this is one of the biggest gaps I see in students all over, is that they don't think while they're reading. Now, I have my own opinion on why I think it is. Some I think is lack of instruction on it. And number two, I think that just in general, our students are learning to not be thinkers, creative thinkers anymore because they're doing this all day or this all day, Blah, 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 blah. So we have to really work on showing our kids what that looks like. Self-monitoring is the biggest thing, right?